So welcome back everyone, Mike here, and welcome to a cold and windy day here in Western Pennsylvania. Today we have a special video with a couple very special guests. Now if you're like me and you're always out cutting firewood or screwing around on your property, there's a good chance that you know what a sore back feels like. Some people it happens more often than others, whether you're running a log splitter, splitting by hand, running a chainsaw. So what we're going to do today, we're going to kind of find out why that happens and maybe a few tips on how to prevent it from happening more. So Jess, Carly, and Melissa, between those three, are going to help us prevent back injuries when you're cutting, splitting firewood, whether it be with a log splitter or an axe or whatever. First, we're going to let them introduce themselves, tell them a little about it, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, Jess.
Hi guys, my name is Jessica Bova. I am the co-owner of Total Pursuit Athletics, which is the home of CrossFit TPA, where Carly coaches and where Melissa is a phenomenal athlete. I am a mother of three. I got 3 boys, 6, 4, and 7 months. And I am a professional softball player, former.
Hi, I'm Carly Greenewalt. I am a doctor of physical therapy. I am a co-owner of Perform Physio, and as Jess said, I coach at TPA as well. So as far as family members, I have a lot of fur babies. So I have 2 horses, a dog, and a cat, and I'm married to my wonderful husband, Matt. And we specialize at Perform Physio in treating overuse injuries, which is what we're going to talk a little bit about today.
You know me, I'm just the case study for today.
She's the talent today.
Yeah.
She's the talent.
What not to do.
So just so you know, any one of these 3 could probably kick the crap out of me, so I'm going to be very nice today and we'll get through this and hopefully all learn something.
Oh, I want a clip of that.
So first things first, whenever we're talking about chopping firewood, moving firewood, or doing any kind of activity outdoors like this, the first thing we have to talk about is your core, because all of these movements are core to extremity movements. So when we're thinking about your core, we have to think about creating intra-abdominal pressure. So our core, and I'm going to use Coach Carly as an example here, is not just her stomach. Your core is 360 degrees. So I'm sure that the majority of injuries that happen when we're talking about working outside are happening to your lower back. And I think that's what people fail to realize, is that your core is not just your stomach, it's your stomach and your lower back. So something you can do to learn to engage your core and to create that pressure. Coach Carly will stand to the side here. And so what she's going to do is she's going to put one hand on her stomach, and then she's going to put one hand on her lower back. So what we're going to have her do is take a big deep breath of air, and then she's going to press that air down into her stomach, and she's going to press the air out against her hand and her lower back and against her hand in the stomach. So Coach Carly, 1, 2, 3, take a deep breath and brace. So as you can see from the back of her jacket here, she created that pressure in her lower back, and she's still able to talk and move and operate while she has that pressure created in her core.
Okay, so one of the things you can do before you go into that log splitting to kind of play off of what Jessica was talking about as far as bracing that core is, there's lots of trees outside, so you can use a tree. And what this is going to teach you is this is going to teach you how to use that back and how to engage that core. So as Jess is standing here, she has her hand on her stomach. Okay, and what she's going to do is thinking about pressing that back into the tree. And you'll notice as she presses, she also gets what's called a pelvic tilt, okay? Oftentimes what I see with back injuries is that people will have the pelvic tilt that's not in neutral. So when we talk about neutral, when we rotate anteriorly, you can see my pelvis comes forward. We rotate posteriorly, my pelvis comes backward. We want to be somewhere in the middle. So what that'll teach, what this tree exercise does is teaches you to be in that neutral as well. So that when we split that log, we're putting our back at the best advantage that we can. All right, so we're actually going to talk a little bit about proper splitting. So a lot of the back injuries that I see come from improper use of an axe. First of all, when you're hand splitting, you have to have a sharp axe. The duller your axe, the more force that's going to go through your spine, okay? Second thing is as far as stance position. So if he takes up his initial stance, he's going to be in a rotated position. But when we end and we actually hit the log, we want to be in an unrotated position. Because if we put a lot of force through the lumbar spine in a rotated position, that can actually cause injuries. So we'll have him go ahead and set up.
So when you're actually hitting it, you want to be squared up to it.
You want to be squared directly up to it.
All right. So I'll start like this.
Yep. Correct. And notice how he took this back leg and just stepped forward to be square with the log. The other thing that'll really help here is if you have as level ground as possible. Sometimes it's difficult if you're splitting in the woods. So we want to be on level ground. That's also going to help you get more square with that log.
Try now.
Yep. Good.
All right, guys, so when you're out here splitting wood, what's going to be really important when we're talking about picking up these objects? First and foremost, are you able to safely pick up the weight? So logs like this are tough because they're odd objects. They're not uniform all the way around. They're awkward. It's hard to pick them up. So first things first, are you able to pick up the weight? So if you come down and you go to pick up the log and you're like, wow, that's really heavy, drop the weight. Cut it in half, make it smaller, or find a friend. So it's not worth getting hurt picking up an object that's just too heavy for you. Secondly, whenever you're picking up a log like this, it's going to be really important that you keep the weight as close to under your center of gravity as possible. The further away that weight gets from your center of gravity, the more likely you are to get hurt, especially in that lower back. So what I would suggest, get yourself square over the object. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to hinge your hips backwards and then come down with straight arms. When you're in this position, you're looking to have a nice neutral spine. You're looking to brace that core, so we're going to create that intra-abdominal pressure. And then the last thing is to have a nice strong back. So a cue that we often use at the gym when we're deadlifting is to pull your shoulder blades together and then stick them in your back pockets so you can fire up all those big muscles in your back. So I'm going to come down, brace, pick it up, and then walk it over here.
All right, Jess and Carly just watched Melissa split some firewood. They're going to offer a few tips here now, you know, as far as running a hydraulic splitter, turning, moving, lifting, those kind of things.
So first things first, when Melissa comes over here, she's going to pick up an object that she knows she can pick up. It's not going to be too heavy, it's not going to be too big. When she goes to pick up this object, we're going to have her get square to the weight, keep it as close to her center of gravity as possible, and just like our lifting of the log over there, she's going to pick it up in the same fashion, turn it around, and then load it on here. And you'll notice that when Melissa turned, she turned shoulders and hips together and she kept that weight right in front of her belly button. Instead of swinging it around and getting that rotation, she did an awesome job of keeping it square, hips and shoulders, right in her center of gravity.
keep it to my belly button.
Yeah, to the belly button.
Okay.
So that's important because when we rotate like that, we can get over patterning, especially if we're rotating all towards one direction. That leads compression on this side of the spine and opening on this side of the spine. So if she's constantly doing that, that can lead to overuse injuries in the lumbar spine. Same thing when she goes to take the finished piece of wood into the stacking bin. She wants to completely turn and avoid that rotation, as well as avoiding getting that log way out in front of her, because that, when she's, go ahead and back to that position, Melissa. When she's way out, you can see how exposed her lumbar spine is. Okay guys, this is just kind of an aside, just based on what I see and come into my clinic. A lot of people get elbow injuries when they're splitting and moving firewood. And a lot of times it's because they're grabbing it at the end, picking it up to move it over there. What that leads to is overuse of the extensors of the elbow and can lead to actually tendonitis in the elbow, especially if you're doing this all day repetitively. So a better way is what Melissa showed you before, to grab both ends of it and move it that way so that we're not over patterning or overusing those extensors.
All right, Jess and Carly are each going to provide just 3 tips to kind of review what we went over here today. Go ahead, Jess.
So my 3 tips, first, creating intra-abdominal pressure, so big breath of air, pushing out in your core and also in your lower back. My second tip is to keep the weight as close to your body as possible. The further away you travel with that weight, the greater you put yourself at risk for injury. And the third thing is just to be smart. If you can't pick it up, don't pick it up.
Okay. My 3 tips are: first, avoid rotation. So whether you're hand splitting logs or whether you're loading it from the automatic splitter here, just be smart, avoid rotation. Okay. Second is avoid overuse. So most of the injuries that are going to occur is because you don't split wood and then all of a sudden you do it all day. So just make sure you're smart. Start splitting your firewood early so that you don't have to do it all in one day. And third is, if you do get acute low back pain, make sure you get it managed early. One of the worst things that you can do for acute low back pain is go in and lay on a heating pad for several hours. You have to remain active. It's okay to sit on the heating pad, probably only 15 minutes at a time. Get up, move, because the longer you sit, the more the inflammation is going to settle in that low back.
I want to apologize for the excessive wind noise in parts of that video. We did our best to kind of work around it, but when you have an outdoor channel, occasionally you just have to deal with it and push through, and that's what we did. Also, I want to thank Jess and Carly. Those two are just a wealth of knowledge, and they're very personable, fun to be around, and I really appreciate them coming over. We had a lot of fun doing that video today, and we hope it was helpful. I'm going to put a link in the description to both of their businesses if you're in the North Pittsburgh area and you want to check them out. But I'd like to kind of get them back, you know, to do some other videos, you know, along the same lines. We all do things outside all the time. And, you know, when you do hurt yourself, it's not a lot of fun. Not only does it hurt, but you're always chomping at the bit to get back out there and do something else. So, you know, listening to people like them that really know what they're talking about, I'm going to try to do better and do that myself. That way we can just keep at it and keep moving forward. But anyway, like I always say, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like button, click subscribe, and share them with your friends. Thanks.